Welcome back to another video. This week has been tough to say the least. We found out the river was very flooded when we dropped down for our first session. Well, as you can see, the river is a bit flooded. The river bank is usually in there somewhere, and so there's this whole extra bit of flooding here. Fishing in such conditions can be really challenging. It's hard enough to get a lead to hold bottom, let alone get a bait in front of a fish long enough to get a bite. Although many of our local venues were completely flooded like many across the country, this hasn't put us off and we went looking for a bite elsewhere. Today we're at a lake, which we don't fish lakes very often, but obviously with the storm over the past few days all the rivers are absolutely flooded. So we decided to come down to this lake today to see if we couldn't catch a few pike. So I've just bought one lure rod and we're just going to have a cast around and see what we can get. Never been here before, so I have no idea if there's even any pike in here, but we'll give it a go and see what we come up with. Catch you at the bank. Unfortunately, the pike refused to bite and proved too elusive in the time we had available to fish, so we left empty-handed. But we're very keen to return another day. Despite not really catching anything at the pike lakes, this didn't put us off, and we soon went out again for our next session. We kept an eye on the river levels, and I noticed a river I'd never fished before actually seemed to be in really good condition, so we dropped down there for a couple of hours after work one evening. We're catching up just as I walk down to the riverbank. I've just come very quickly after work. I've got maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, so it's a very short session. We're going to fetch a new stretch of water here, a new river for me, one that I've never been to before. So I've just got two feeder rods with me, and we're going to see if we can't get some fish that way. A whole different variety of baits. I'm hoping it's not too flooded here, because I think this is generally quite shallow. So we'll get down there and see what we can catch. Only having a few hours, I decided to adopt a more fixed approach than I usually take, staying in one or two areas and using feeder rods to try and encourage fishing. I was very hopeful of a bite, as I'd heard there was some nice chub and even barbel in the river. Having never caught a barbel, I was very optimistic. Despite getting my feeder in some likely looking areas, I still didn't have a bite after about an hour, so I decided it was probably time to pack up and move swims to see if the fish were just located somewhere else. For the final hour of the session, I moved upstream to another likely looking location to see if that wouldn't prove more lucky for me. I ran into darkness trying to create a bite, but again the session passed without incident, and I packed up hoping to return again soon to what seemed to be a water filled with potential. Despite not catching earlier in the week, I returned to rivers closer to home, fishing for only an hour or so on each session. I tried higher up on the Foss initially, where it's very peaceful and more picturesque, surrounded by rural agricultural land, but really struggled angling wise. I was fishing my favourite bait of maggot and the feeder, but decided that in the coloured water a tactical change might produce more, and so I switched to using meat, bread and cheese paste, hoping the larger, more visual baits would attract more fish and actually get me something in the net. Despite not catching anything on this first session, I wasn't put off, and I actually returned to a piece of water I knew even better in search of some fish. Well, we've dropped down to the Foss again for a very quick session this afternoon. We're just on the feeder and we're feeding some bread at the moment, just some sort of bread pulp and a bit of bread on the hook. Can't see if we can get some chub up here. So far not a lot has happened. The wind is quite strong, so it's very difficult to read the tip sometimes, but we'll get there. Hopefully we'll get some fish as well. Catch up with you in a bit. Fish on, guys. There we go, first one of the session. There we have it guys, first chub of the session. You know, he absolutely devoured that piece of bread, so really happy we came out today. We'll get him put back a little bit further downstream and get the rod back out there. I continue fishing through a rainstorm and topped up the feed every so often, but I didn't catch any more fish that session, so packed up and decided to come back the next day for another quick session. I headed upstream to where a tree had blocked the river, as this looked like a really good location for the fish to live and nip out and grab bits of food as they came near. After about half an hour, I was rewarded with my first bite. Well, fish on guys. Ooh, finally managed to get him in the net. Well, first fish of the session there, so we're really happy to have him. We're going to slip him back and see if we can get another one. Similarly to the day before, I continued fishing until dark, but didn't get any more bites that session, and so packed up just as it got dark and headed home. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video rounding up my week in fishing. I hope many of you have caught as well. If you enjoyed it, please press subscribe and we'll see you in the next one.